And good afternoon, my name is Konstantinos and I would like to welcome you to the second video of my online series presenting the Comptia Tech Plus exam FCO-U71. And the particular video series are based on the official Comptia Tech Plus FCO-U71 study guide published from Cybex, a willing brand. So I chose to begin the particular series at first by introducing Chapter 8 networking concepts and technologies. In the first video of the series, in the introductory video, I was able to present the exam objectives covered in Chapter 8 of the book, and in addition I was able to cover the introductory section of Chapter 8. In this video I will cover the introductory section of the first module of Chapter 8, and in addition I will cover the dial-up or POTS, plain old telephone service technology. So I will cover up to the early stages of the page 425. This is because I prefer my educational videos to be short and descriptive and also to be engaging. Let's start. Exploring connection types and features. There are a lot of analogies that we can make between humans and computers. You have already heard analogies for hardware, such as the motherboard being the nervous system of a computer and the processor the brain. These comparisons continue when it comes to connecting computers together. For example, to communicate with one another, people need to be connected somehow. It used to be that people needed to be in the same physical location to speak to each other. Then technology improved, and by 1876 people could say things like, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you," into a little box with wires sticking out of it, and other people could hear them in the next room. That technology worked well enough, but then humans figured out how to communicate via radio waves. Today humans are so advanced as a species that when some apparently crazy individual walks down the street, seemingly talking loudly to himself, he might actually be talking to a good friend halfway around the world by using a small wireless device in his ear, the so-called wireless hands-free devices. The line between insanity and technology enabled has blurred a bit possibly, but that's not the point of this section. The point is that computers need to be connected to each other to communicate as well. The same also holds true for our other mobile electronic devices. The first computer networks relied on wired physical connections, and technology has evolved to provide relatively high-speed wireless communications as well. Okay, the first computer networks relied on wired physical connections, and technology has evolved to provide relatively high-speed wireless communications as well. There are several available options when it comes to connecting devices together. That's true. That's why the author mentioned earlier in the text that we have the physical connections and the wireless or radio connections. And there are several available options when it comes to connecting devices together. Those options fall into two major buckets, wired and wireless. In the next two sections, I am going to cover this in terms of connections that you might make to the external world, that is the Internet, and then connections that you might make on an internal network, like WAN connections, Ethernet connections, and LAN connections, internal network connections. And as we are going to learn later on, LAN connections may be physical, wireless, or a blend of two. So sometimes I will repeat the paragraph for a second time in order for me to be able to understand better the words of the author of the book. Again, there are several available options when it comes to connecting devices together. These options fall into two major buckets, wired and wireless. In the next two sections, I am going to cover this in terms of connections that you might make to the external world, that is the Internet, and then connections that you might make on an internal network. There are two reasons for organizing the chapter this way. Okay, let me see. Okay, let's take a very short break. Download and okay, let's continue. As you see, I may lose somehow my voice, but the reason is because from the early noon I produce content for YouTube, specific videos, one behind the other. So this is the reason. And again, there are two reasons for organizing the chapter this way. First, later in this chapter, you will learn how to set up and configure a small wireless network using a SOHO router. The assumption is that you are setting up a network because you will have computers or mobile devices connected to this router. and you will also have this router connected to the rest of the world. Okay, let's make a short pause here and a short break, and I will be immediately back to you with the second part of this video. And good afternoon, okay, good morning, because for the moment is 1 a.m. early morning hours. So let's continue. As mentioned earlier, it's chapter 8 of the Comptia Tech Plus FCO-U71 certification. It's the official book from Cybex, and chapter 8 includes part of the exam material, and in essence we are going to see networking concepts and terminologies and technologies. Let's move on. Okay, and let's start from this paragraph. There are several available options when it comes to connecting. There are several available options when it comes to connecting devices together. These options fall into two major buckets: wired and wireless. In the next two sections, I am going to cover this in terms of connections that you might make to the external world, in brackets that is the internet, and then connections that you might make on an internal network. Okay, and just it's early morning hours, and I try to focus that there are I have strange neighbors. They make noise all the time, and I'm thinking if they are seeking attention, or if they need some type of fixing, Anyways, let's continue. There are several available options when it comes to connecting devices together, and these options fall into two major buckets: wired and wireless. Let's continue. There are two reasons for organizing the chapter this way. First, later in the chapter, you will learn how to set up and configure a small wireless network using a Soho router, a small home office router. The assumption is that you are setting up a network because you will have computers or mobile devices connected to this router, and you will also have the router connected to the rest of the world. It is hard to know how to make these connections without the right background. Second, wired and wireless technologies have different pros and cons, which make some better suited for external connections than for internal connections, and vice versa. Finally, you also need to think about the future. When choosing a connection type, think not only about what your needs are today, but also what they would be in 2 or 3 years. One moment, please. Okay, some noise. There is no sense in going overboard and buying a top-of-the-line solution if it is not needed. That's common sense. But you do want to plan for expansion if that's a possibility. The goal is that by the end of this section you will be able to make informed decisions on which type of connection is best for any situation. Okay, for example, in a business setting, you need a scalable solution because, for example, a business may have a humble start with 5 employees, and if successful in the future, in 2 or 3 years' time, the business may have 50 employees or 50 workers. So that's correct. It's advisable, or it is wise, if you prefer, to plan ahead and have equipment and have the necessary solution that it will be able to support your business in 3 years time, in the case that the business is successful and have let's say, and the numbers multiply and might have 40 employees or workers, might have 50 employees or workers. Now, in my opinion, in the case of a Soho router, I believe there is not so much the need for expansion, because the Soho router is set in a family, let's say, environment. So in a family house. Okay, let's say a family with 4 members: the mother, the father, and 2 children. Each one of them may have a laptop, a tablet, maybe 2 mobile phones. Maybe a member of the family or 2 may have 2 laptops, not only one. But as I know, today the SOHO routers from the wireless capabilities, that means they can provide Wi-Fi access at least to up to 32 different devices. So in my opinion, from the wireless perspective, there is more than enough coverage. The only need is from the wired perspective, because usually the SOHO routers have only 4 ports for wire connections. But this is fixable with the assistance of a let's say of a technician. I don't remember the correct word, of a specialized technician that is able to run an Ethernet wire from the SOHO router of the home and connect it. He will be able, let's say, to run a wire all the way to all the rooms of the house, in order for the separate rooms to have separate Ethernet sockets as well. So by doing this, we are solving the problem of the Ethernet cable, of the Ethernet coupling for each and every member of the family. So what I try to say, in the end of the day, you plan ahead, mainly in a corporate environment, not in a SOHO environment, because most likely is that a corporate environment will be able to expand rapidly in a 2 or 3 years time, and not a SOHO or family environment. And let's continue. Choosing external network connections. By external connection, I really mean Ethernet connection, because that is the most common connection type by a significant margin. Historically, Ethernet connections were always wired and could be broadly broken into 2 categories: dial-up and broadband, such as DSL or cable Ethernet. Now with 5G and other technologies, a wireless connection can be viable for Ethernet use as well. Each has pros, positives, and cons, negatives. But the major factors to weight are throughput and what else? Cost. Your Ethernet connection will give you online service through an Ethernet service provider, or ISP in short. And again, your Ethernet connection will give you online service through an Ethernet service provider, again, or ISP in short. The type of service that you want will often determine your ISP choices. For example, if you want cable Ethernet, your choices are limited to your local cable companies and a few national providers. I will outline some of the features of each type of service and discuss why you might or might not want a specific connection type based on the situation. Again, I found some. Let's read the particular paragraph, the particular line again. I will outline some of the features of each type of service and discuss why you might or might not want a specific connection type based on the situation, based on a particular situation. You see, it might seem that Tech Plus is an entry-level certification, but it has a lot of information, it has a lot of a lot of terms that you need to know by heart in order for you to be able to at the time that you will receive the official certificate from Comptia, again, in order for you to be able to, after the particular time frame, to be able to work efficiently in an entry-level IT setting, IT position. Okay. And let's continue. Yes, let's continue. Dial-up or pods. I believe pods means plain old telephone service. I believe everyone that is maybe 30 or 35 years old and older might know both technologies. Might had the opportunity to meet the particular technologies in the past, in his or her early teenage years or early 20s. One of the oldest ways of communicating with Ethernet service providers and remote networks is through dial-up connections. Although this is still possible, yes, it is possible, because still we have the option to remotely connect to a particular computer. Again, remember, dial-up connections sometimes equal to ways of communicating with them, sometimes equal to pathways of communicating with ISPs or remote networks. Although this is still possible, dial-up is rarely used anymore because of the prevalence of broadband options. In addition, dial-up is painfully slow because of limitations on modem speed, which tops out at 56 kbps. Let me clarify something. In my opinion, each networking technology is based on the internet speeds of the particular time period. What I mean by this, for example, at the time of the advent of the dial-up Ethernet connections, the World Wide Web was in its infancy. So the web pages were very basic ones, plain HTML pages with let's say maybe any available documents, any available images might have small document size. So the particular technology was, in my opinion, for the time, was more than enough. It may be compared with today's gigabps fiber optics connections. So today the particular connections, the fiber optics one, are more than enough for our needs. And the particular legacy connection, the dial-up one, at 56K was more than enough for the needs of the particular time, although it might sound strange to us with today's needs and today's advancements. And let's continue. Here is something interesting. In brackets, the United States Federal Communications Commission, or FCC in short, actually limits download speeds to 53 kbps. So there was never any sense in modem manufacturers trying to exceed this threshold. Dial-up uses modems that operate over regular phone lines, that is, the plain old telephone service, or POTS in short, and cannot compare to speeds possible with broadband. So in essence, I was able to, I had internet connection through a dial-up connection in my let's say in my late teenage years. And what I remember most from the particular dial-up internet connection is that it was very expensive for the time, and also was not able to load timely a basic web page with graphics like a broadband connection can do easily. So back in the day, back in the 2000s, in 2000, correct, the year 2000, about 74% of American households used dial-up internet connections. You see, it was the norm of the time. Like today is the satellite connectivity and the fiber optics. By 2021, the early COVID era, that the number had dropped to about 0.1%. And okay, it's a significant number because United States of America, it's a large geographical continent. But there was some strange noises. Okay, I believe it's not a crazy, it was just the refrigerator. Let me fix the camera, okay, from this side. And by the early COVID era, by 2021, that the number had dropped to about 0.1%. Most of the people who still use dial-up do it because high-speed access isn't available where they live. Again, in my opinion, the particular 0.1%, it's a high percentage. Because, let's say, over a number of 100 million, for example, 100 million Ethernet connections. The 74% is 74 million connections using the dial-up connectivity method, the dial-up technology. And okay, the 0.1% of the 100 million, I believe it's 100,000 connections. So you see, a lot connections. So do not get confused from the percentage. By number, it's even 10,000 connections are a lot of connections. Okay, let's continue. And because before I proceed further, because the particular technology, although legacy one, is used today, we need to learn. We need to learn about the particular technology, and we need to know how to troubleshoot it as well. The biggest advantage to dial-up is that it's cheap and relatively easy to configure. Okay, I don't remember the dial-up to be cheap. For example, back in the day, in my late teenage years, I believe I was able to use for a very short time dial-up Ethernet connection, and my family we had received my family received a bill from the Cyprus Telecommunications Authority for the monthly usage of the Ethernet line, of the phone line, of the landline. And I believe the bill was maybe $15, maybe more. So you see, it was, let's say, an expensive sport back in the day for someone to have a dial-up connection, and dial-up Ethernet connection, and also use it frequently during the month. And in essence, the only hardware that you need is a modem and the phone cable. Let's connect. You just need a modem, a networking expansion card in your computer, and an RJ11 cable in order for you to connect your the particular expansion card to the phone outlet of your home. So it was an RJ11. Let me see. So it's RJ11 to no RJ to Naval, I'm not sure. So you see, it was an RJ11 to BT11. BT11 is okay. BT11 is this one here. The RJ11 it's this type of socket of cable and of not cable or socket. And RJ11 it's let's say it's this type of cable, and Naval or BT11, let's say Naval, BT correct, and BT connectors are this one, the ones that connect directly to the phone outlet, to the phone socket, to the wall phone socket. They called BT, I believe, from British Telecom. A company, I believe, exists up to today. Okay, in essence, an easy setup, an easy installation. Again, the only hardware that you need is a modem and a phone cable. You dial into a server, such as an internet service provider server, provide a username and a password, that's correct, and you are on the internet. It was like you was dialing a specific portal. Like today, if you go to an internet cafe, you connect to a specific portal, let's say to the extranet, to the guest network, let's say, of the wireless router of the cafeteria, and then the portal requests a username and a password. So the same goes with a particular the same configuration was taking place with the particular technology. You dial up a specific server, the dial-up connections server of the Internet service provider. After this, you was providing your username and password. They provided username and password from the ISP, and after this, you had access to the internet. And after all, in the end of the month, you was going to receive a worthy internet bill. And as we see here, and you are on the internet. Companies also have the option to grant users dial-up access to their networks. I believe the so-called serial connections. As with Ethernet connections, this option used to be a lot more popular than it is today. It is popular today because of COVID. Microsoft offers a server-side product to facilitate this called RAS, Remote Access Service, as do many other companies. Today you might still hear people talking about connecting remotely to your company's network as remote access. Yes, today you will hear, because remote work is, I believe, a popular form of work worldwide. It seems that dial-up is considered to be a relic from the Stone Age of Ethernet access, but there are some reasons why it might be the right solution. The only hardware it requires is a modem and a phone cord. Let's say a cheap installation. It's relatively easy to set up and configure. That's true. It is the cheapest online solution, maybe today, usually $10 to $20 per month. You can use it wherever there is a phone service, which is just about everywhere, especially in the urban areas. Of course, there are reasons why a dial-up connection might not be appropriate. The big one is speed. Yes, actually, the dial-up connection is good for you. You may send a fax. You may easily access HTML-only web pages. But you are not able to download near the speeds that offered from a broadband connection or a fiber optics connection, or you do not have the speed of the particular technologies with dial-up. You have the only speed provided is the plain old telephone service speed. Again, of course, there are reasons why a dial-up connection might not be appropriate. The big one is speed. If you need for speed, if you have need for speed, then you will not choose dial-up. If you need for speed, for example, you are going to choose a well-trained horse, like a fiber optics connection, and not a turtle, like a dial-up. If you need to download files or have substantial data requirements, dial-up is probably too slow. Let me expand the document. In addition, with limited bandwidth, the 54K, it is really good only for one computer. It is possible to share a dial-up Ethernet connection by using software tools, but it is also possible to push a stalled car up a mud hill. Neither option sounds like much fun. It is what it is. And we, computer technicians, we get paid in order to provide solutions to our customers. And particular solutions may not have much fun. But again, it is what it is. Reviewing throughput speeds in Chapter 2, Peripherals and Connectors, you were introduced to throughput units as part of Tech Plus exam, Objective 1.3, Compare and contrast common units of measure. Here is a reminder of that concept. So throughput is the actual speed that we receive from our Ethernet connection. For example, if an Ethernet connection have a throughput of 100 megabits per second, let's say if an Ethernet connection offers maximum download throughput of 100 megabits per second, then per second we receive a maximum of 100 megabits per second. The throughput is the maximum that the line allows for us to have. But you need to calculate a possible loss of 10 to 20%. A fair loss, let's say. The most basic measure of throughput is in bits per second. That is how many bits are transmitted across the network media or wireless connection in a given second. Is each of the following designations increases the speed by 1,000 times. Okay, kilobits per second. So it's kilobits per second, it's 1024 bits per second. Megabits per second, it's 1 million plus bits per second. Gigabits per second, it's, I believe, 1 billion bits per second, more than 1 billion. And with the designation G capital, BPS lowercase. Terabits per second, probably 1 trillion plus bits per second, with the designation T capital, BPS lowercase. And so, kilobps, K capital, BPS lowercase, is 1,000 bits per second. Okay. Okay. From my university studies, I know that I have learned from my academic, let's say, instructors that 1 kilobps it's 1024 bps. For the Comptia Tech Plus purposes, the author indicates that for the exam, if there is a question, 1 kilobps is 1000 bps. Okay, so keep in mind this the particular theory, let's say. So just remember, a kilobps it's 1000 bps, an absolute value 1000 bps, megabits per second 1 million bps, absolute value 1 million, gigabits per second 1 billion bps, absolute value 1 billion, terabits per second 1 trillion bps, absolute value 1 trillion. Just for the exam objectives, in order for you to be able to pass the precious exam. And again, mega bps, m capital bps lowercase is 1 million bits per second, gigabps g capital capital G bps lowercase is 1, okay, here it says 1 trillion bits per second. I believe there is a mistake. After the billion we have after the million we have billion. So I need to cross-verify the particular section. Gigabps uppercase G lowercase bps is 1 billion bits per second, and terabits per second uppercase T lowercase bps is 1 not quadrillion, trillion bits per second. Note that in the exam objectives the team bps uppercase T bps lowercase acronym is specified out as terabytes per second. Any abbreviation of bits will use a lowercase b, where bytes will always be abbreviated with an uppercase b. So do not get confused, because terabytes are different. A byte, it's let's say is a bit, it's single unit, either active high or active low, either 1 or 0. A byte, it's a batch of bits, a batch of zeros and ones, and it's a batch of 8 bits. So if we say 1 terabit, and if we say 1 terabyte, the 1 terabyte, it's larger in size than the 1 terabit. But remember, any abbreviation of bits will use a lowercase b, whereas bytes will always be abbreviated with an uppercase b, and that's truth in the technology world. And again, this is Konstantinos. Thank you for watching the particular video. In the next one, I'm going to discuss the broadband technologies, and more specifically the DSL technology, digital subscriber line. Again, thank you for watching, and see you on the next video. Have a nice day.